What's up, everybody? You're now listening to Rock Chalk Jayhawk with me, Jayhawk, a podcast brought to you by the Field of 68 Media Network. Make sure you rate 5 stars, review, and hit the subscribe button on iTunes or anywhere else you get your podcast from. All right, today's guest was a member of the Kansas 1986 Final Four team. He's the owner of the current Kansas record for most consecutive free throws made at 33, and a member of the 1986 All-NCAA Midwest Regional Team. Welcome to the podcast, Calvin Thompson.
Appreciate
How you doing,
appreciate
man?
it. Before you get going, you can say I am the current holder of the Big 8 record because Wayne Selden broke it his senior year.
Hey, no, man. Hey, that record's in there.
I say my Big 8 record will always stand because he was Big 12.
Hey, it's in there, baby. It's in there. It's not going nowhere. Hey, Calvin, man. Hey, glad to have you on, man. You've always been one of my favorite Jayhawks, especially in my playing times, man. Just, I know I could always come and look to you as mentorship. So, you know, it's more like Big Brother. I'm talking to Big Brother right now, man. But, you know, fill Jayhawk Nation in on kind of what you're doing right now.
Well, 3 years ago, I got fed up with the way things were going with the league that I was coaching in, and I decided to purchase my own team. So I am now the current owner of the KC Sizzlers semi-pro basketball team. I just said semi-pro team. We're in a semi-pro league, but I tell all my staff and my players that we're a professional team in the semi-pro league. So I want to do things on a higher level and sort of raise the bar for not just our region, but for the league. And so we initially, I had moved the team to Topeka. That was where I got my professional career started after getting released from the Pacers, and relocated back to Kansas City, our hometown, last January.
Yeah. So how was with COVID and everything? You know, COVID's impacted everything. You know, how has COVID impacted you guys this season?
Well, we were just finishing up last season when it started, and it shut down our playoffs, which was in New York. We were set to start in October of this year, and then the league owner had pushed it back to January 2nd last weekend. But he left it up to each individual owner to make a decision on if they wanted to play or not. I opted out and chose to err on the side of safety and with our not only our players but our families and friends and fans as well. I talked to several doctors before making my decision, and they simply could not provide me with enough answers. And they simply said that their job was to tell us when we contracted the virus and to shut it down.
Yeah.
And he said if we played, that it was inevitable that someone was going to catch it and spread it. And I can't control what takes place once we leave practice. You know, guys have their own families, they have their outside jobs and everything else. And so I'm high risk. I mean, I look young, but I'm close to 60.
Look good, baby. Yeah.
High risk, and I just didn't want to take any chances with not just myself but other families as well. So I decided to shut it down until next October.
Yeah, that was definitely safe, man. You know, taking that safe call, obviously, again, man, and you know that just shows the type of guy you are, man. Always looking out for others more than yourself, man. You know, I mean, I could go on so many stories with how Calvin gives back, man. But and you know, obviously with the Rock Chalk Ball being involved with that, you know, and so many other organizations that you do as well too, helping to give back, man. I mean, that just goes to show the type of guy you are, obviously looking out for others, and especially in a time like this, man. But hopefully we'll get this with the vaccine, you know, hopefully we'll be able to, you know, get this under control here and get back to some type of normalcy here pretty soon, man. But
right. That's my hopes as well.
Yeah.
You know, I rescheduled my Hoops and Sneakers Gala, which will benefit not only my junior Sizzlers, but as well as the Plaza Academy on the Missouri side. So we're going to help raise some funds for their schooling as well, and those kids over in that area. I had donated some auction items over to them, and he gave me a tour around the school and introduced me to teachers and students and showed me what they were doing over there, and was just really impressed. And so I told him that he was my first honoree to be part of our solution in trying to help with the inner city youth and at-risk youth, and so that's what we're doing. So we moved it from May to the end of August. Hopefully that's enough time with the vaccine, like you said, is out there and everybody, it's a little more safer for people to get together, so we don't have to cut back on the attendance.
Yeah, well, Calvin, you know, big dog, I don't have to tell you this, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Obviously for the community kids, it's obviously making a difference, man. And I know you won't stop. You'll definitely keep doing it, man. But let's roll into to this year's team, man. Let's talk a little KU basketball. So obviously the last two games have been pretty much night and day. So what do you think about, Texas taking it to KU last Saturday and being a more physical team?
And you said it. They it's not that they wanted it more, because I'm sure KU players wanted it as well. They just were more physical.
Yeah.
Who do they have down there in that weight room?
Yeah. Real.
You don't think that she had a part in that? So, we miss AH.
Yeah,
she's down there doing her thing, and then I'm sure she had a little pregame speech for the guys.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach Smart down there, he's taking after his last name. He got tired of getting beat in the head. It's so much, and I tell the K-State fans and the Missouri guys before they opted out, it's only a rival if it's two-sided.
Yeah.
And so Texas, they brought it to us. KU, this is not normal for all of us, not just KU, but when we normally turn it on in mid-January, towards the end of January, after Christmas break, whatnot, and Coach to implement everything. I knew that they would bounce back like they did. I didn't know to that extent, just like we didn't know that Texas was going to beat us by 25. But we'll have them ready. They're young, and I'm not making any excuses because it's only the second loss, and it speaks for itself.
Yeah. So, hey, obviously, that game last Saturday with Texas, do you feel, not having 16,300 in the stands makes a difference? Like,
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. They don't have to look up at the video with the growing noise and everything. And, people, they used to lose games before they stepped on the floor. Yeah. And now it neutralizes everyone.
Yeah.
So, without a doubt.
So, obviously last game, great bounce back game. David McCormack, bounce back game for him as well too. What do you think he needs to continue to do for the rest of the year to keep that momentum going?
He has to really just stay aggressive. You and I, although it's a little difference in our sizes, we were both guards.
Yeah.
Small ball like Houston Rockets, they can't win with it. We need McCormack. We need Lightfoot. We need a post presence that requires attention in the post, not just somebody big. And you can be 6'4" and 6'5", but require the attention of the other team. He is the gas that makes it go, in my mind. We need somebody in that post. We had Dryland. When Dryland wasn't getting it done, we would push him into someone to make him get in foul trouble and get Piper in the game. We had to have somebody in that post, in that middle, to take up some space. And as long as he's aggressive and going after and not worrying about fouling out, but it's not just it's Mitch. Because when Mitch comes in or whoever comes in to replace him, they shine. It gives him motivation to, hey, I got to go and protect my spot and to keep him back out there on the floor. But we need him on the floor dominating and even if he has to go 10 or get a couple of charges, I don't like the fouls, setting picks. I mean, I'd rather you knock somebody down and get a foul that way and intimidate them from coming back in there trying to shoot a layup, as opposed to 30 feet from the goal, setting a pick somewhat. But he needs to just keep it up and, you know, knock his free throws down when he gets to the line.
Yeah. I mean, you said it best, man. You know, being a guard, man, just having an inside presence, man, that just, like, I'm smiling now. Like, it just makes me be like, yeah, that means if you got an inside presence, everybody's going to be focusing. You know how to find the gaps. And be ready to shoot, man. When
catch and shoot. I mean, that's what I tell my players, and when I have my youth program, I tell them that I was the best shooter that they will ever meet. But if they can't pass me the ball, then I can't shoot it. So, like you said, if you got two worrying about the post, and you can just spot up and catch and shoot the basketball, it opens it up for everyone.
Yeah. You know, I think, and David's gotten a lot of backlash. I'm not sure how much he is on social media. Hopefully he's not even paying attention to that. He just keeps digging in. And, you said it best, man. The Jayhawk teams, they start finding their peak, mid-January to February. And that's not just them together as a team. That's even the players individually. So I think, David's going to figure it out. But again, I think he, like you said, he has to stay aggressive in order to keep that momentum going. You mentioned 5 guards too, or playing small. What are your thoughts on KU playing 5 guards?
No, I like it, and in this day and age, that seems to be the route that most teams are taking because they have to. Because now you got the 7-foot, no longer 7-foot post players. There's 7-foot guards. There's 7-foot wing players, and so the game is expanding out. So. If you want to play your 7-footers as a guard, then they need to guard a guard. And if they have to guard me on the perimeter, then we can shot, fake, and take and get them that way. So every now and then, you're going to have to play small. I mean, in our league, which is the ABA, it's a guard league.
Yeah.
So I have to, instead of taking the post out of the game, I just extended my offense starting at the free throw line as opposed to on the blocks. And just stretch it out. So if your post players want to sit back and play a zone, we don't have to be at the 3-point line to shoot a 3. So we're stretching it out, and they're going to have to come get us one way or the other. So I like the small ball. I just don't want to live and die with it.
Yeah. So, obviously with the small ball, you said it best. You don't want to live and die by it. So, probably already knowing the answer to this question, do you feel that's something that they can have a deep run in the tournament with? Or is that something they got to mix and match? It's just depending on game personnel, game situation.
So, and you do have to play according to the personnel that's on the floor. Yeah. But I feel that whoever wins the championship will win with small ball.
Okay.
Because you can start off with McCormack or double post in the first half, but as I do, those big players are going to run out of gas.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of momentum and energy you have to have in that tournament. And so whoever wins will be the best small guards out there.
Yeah. So Tristan Enaruna, he had a great game against TCU. Do you think his limp athleticism could be a wild card for the Jayhawks at any point?
I think so. I think so. With like I said, because he's not a post player. He's a guard. We really only have McCormack.
Yeah.
Mitch is not a true 5 player. In the post, he's a stretch guy, and he doesn't really have the body to run up against somebody that's a force. He brings his energy, which is needed, and that's his calling card. But I do believe if you put him at 5, going against a traditional 5, I'll bet on the Jayhawks.
Yeah. Always.
Right.
Hey, so Jalen Wilson and Ochai have been hitting some big time buckets at the end of close games this year. Who do you think is the go-to guy this season as the season progresses and moving forward?
CB.
Okay.
I like the guys that you mentioned, but
yeah.
If I'm running a play for somebody to take the last shot, I'm going to CB.
Hey, you know what? And I said this, a couple pods ago to I can't remember who it was, but we were talking about CB, and I was just like, man, he reminded me of a little bit, just like his little attitude, his swag. It's like a Kirk Heinrich, man. I mean,
and I said the same thing. I said Kurt, a mix between Kurt and Tyrell Reed.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And so you need that. He's not arrogant or cocky. He's confident.
Yeah.
And that was a big move. I said that was going to be the big jump coming from last year to this year, and he came out and showed early.
Yeah.
It's going to mean a lot at the end.
So, and one other guy who had a good game, I don't think many have been really talking too much about him, Dejuan Harris. What are your thoughts on Dejuan Harris?
One would think that you talked to me earlier before we had this interview, but we didn't. But we're on the same page. He's a starter in my mind. We don't win if he's not starting at the end of the year.
Yeah.
He has to start, and I like Garrett, and he got his trophy last year. But I wouldn't mind it if he was coming off the bench now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a real point guard. He did what he needed to do for us last year, and this is not a knock on him. We need players. I tell my guys who wants to start. I ask them a question, but it's not that I'm going to listen to them. I said, I don't want starters. I want some finishers. Anybody can start the game. Who can I depend on to finish the game?
Yeah.
I don't foresee or necessarily like him in the end of the game, but the first 3 quarters of the game to get it going, I want him out there running that show. We were much better when Garrett was out of the game this past game.
Yeah.
In my mind, because we had a point guard running the show and setting everybody else up.
Yeah. And it makes a difference, man.
Need Garrett. I'm not taking anything away from him. We need him. But I would rather have me a traditional point guard out there.
Yeah. Just the way – I mean, Dejuan's just a true point, man. I've had the opportunity to watch him, when he played summer basketball for MoCan. So I got to see him at a younger age. And still then, just his court vision and IQ, he's a true point guard, pass first, but still sneaky enough to know when he can get his shot just to keep the defense accountable so he can set up his next man for an open shot, open dunk, open lob. So I agree with you, man. I like Dejuan at that point guard position. I mean, he has 7 assists, and I think he's only gonna continue to get better. He's still figuring things out, but he's still, for the most part, he understands what's going on.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's seen it. Like, he's been around the game, and he, like you said, a lot of times you learn by sitting and watching.
Yeah.
By him redshirting it and sitting there and being there at practice all last year, he's picked it up, and he wants his turn.
So, I want to talk about those 33 consecutive free throws, man. Was that something you just worked on at an early age, where you just say, hey, man, I was just that guy that was shooting free throws at the end of practice, or, I mean, I was just a knockdown shooter? What was it, man? Like, what made you so focused in on the free throw line?
Well, it happened in high school.
Okay.
And you were too young to know me in high school, but
hey, I heard the stories though, man.
I know you heard the story, but I was a jump shooter. I was a dunker and a shooter, but I could not shoot free throws. And for me, the game had slowed down and I wasn't out there. And so I wasn't concentrating enough. I started backing up during the season and shooting jump shots at the free throw line.
Okay.
My percentage, it wasn't bad. It wasn't Shaq. It was always 70 or 80, but that wasn't good enough for me. So over the summertime, from my junior to senior year, my senior year to freshman year at KU, it was free throws. It was free throws, free throws, free throws. 33 in a row is nothing.
Yeah.
Hit 143 in a row in practice, 137 in a row in practice. And so I just, like Coach Self, when he found out that I had the record, he's like, I just didn't shoot enough.
Yeah.
You got to keep in mind, I had Kellogg on the team. So
yeah.
I got my points from shooting technicals and knock my free throws down all the time. So he wasn't passing much. So I took pride in, they were free. I took pride in my free throws and wanted to be improve my shooting percentage.
So what keeps you in that? Some guys, they're like, man, they make you to 20, 30, then they start thinking about a miss. Like, what gets you to 130, 140? Is it just like, hey, you're just like, next one's good, next one's good, next one's good.
You watch me now, my post on Facebook. I don't do the other social media as much. In fact, I just signed up for Twitter yesterday. Goals don't care who helps. It doesn't matter how old you are or how far you are in your career, whatever that may be. If you set goals and believe in yourself and go after them, that'll keep you motivated. In fact, if you go to my Facebook now, you got Muhammad Ali on there talking about goals don't care who have them. Goals, you gotta begin with the end in mind. And I used to see myself winning games with the last second shot or winning games with free throws. And I said all the time in my youth service program, my youth program, free throws and layups win games.
Yep.
I stick by it even at the professional level. We got to knock down free throws.
That's great advice. Great advice. Great advice from a legend, man. Hey, so you're a Kansas City kid, graduate of Wyandotte High School. Yes, sir. That's what's up. Native town, baby. Hey.
There you go. And where's my Wyandotte? You see that Wyandotte?
Yeah, baby. Yes, sir. There it is.
Yeah, that's Wyandotte up in the corner.
Man, I wish I could have seen some of those games, man.
Oh, we had battles.
Hey, so being a Kansas City kid, going to Wyandotte, did you always want to go to KU, or was just like, man, it kind of fell into your lap? Was that like a targeted school? Like, man, I just want to go right up the road.
No, KU started recruiting me as a freshman. I say freshman. Back then we had junior high school. I was from Eisenhower Junior High. And I broke my growth bone playing football. So I was sort of like Archie Marshall in the last couple of games at Eisenhower. And JoJo White and Coach Owens had started recruiting me, and I got to Wyandotte as a sophomore. And Coach Shaplinski was moving me up to varsity, and we had a pretty good varsity team back then with Mike Bagby and Tofree and all those guys and Marvin Mars and Champ. And I told Coach, I don't have a problem playing JV and letting these guys because it was mostly seniors. I said, letting them go ahead out and shine instead of you bringing this little sophomore up here with all this so-called notoriety and shaking the boat. So he's like, really? And so I was like, yeah. So the end of my sophomore year going to my junior year, halfway through the season, Coach Owens had offered me a scholarship, and I was like, yes. All growing up as a little kid, probably similar to you, all I heard was Jayhawk basketball.
Yeah.
And leading into it in 81, 82, we weren't that good then, but the tradition of Jayhawk basketball. That was all that was on Fox 4 News back then. I was like, I kept telling my mother, I want to be a Jayhawk. I want to be a Jayhawk.
Yeah,
She
nice.
laughed at me, and then I'm like, wow. And so again, she motivated me and helped me set my goals. I want to be the first in my family to go to college. And so once Coach Owens came and made me the offer, I'm like, I'm going. And then my good friend and mentor, principal, Mr. Rome, he came to me. He's like, Calvin, it's not about you. I'm like, wow, I'm doing this and doing that. And
Hold on, man.
we're number 5 in the nation, and you saying it's not about me. And he sat me down and made me understand the concept of team. He said, what about Kenny Taylor? What about David Johnson? What about these other guys that want to go to college? And by you committing to KU, you're stopping all these other guys from getting recruited. All the other college coaches are going to stop coming around. And I was like, wow. And he's like, do me a favor. And I said, what's that? He's like, take your commitment back. I'll schedule a press conference, and you can talk to coach or do what you want to do, but take your commitment back so we can get these other guys in school. And so that's what so if you go back in the archives, my junior year, I decommitted to KU, but wink, wink, just so my other teammates could get recruited for college. And so I was always a Jayhawk from day one. The moment they wanted me, I was there. I didn't take not one other recruiting trip. Coach, he asked me why. I was like, why waste their time and money if I know where I'm going to go? And I was like, although you had me decommit, I'm still not wasting time. I'm a Jayhawk.
Yeah.
So from that moment on, when I was first asked to join them, my room turned crimson and blue.
Man, I never knew that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jayhawk the Nation is proud to hear that too, because most of them probably haven't heard that either.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story. Hey, so your freshman year, I think you averaged around 21 minutes your freshman year. How was that transition from high school at Wyandotte to now being a Jayhawk?
Yeah, it was tough back then, and not just for me, but for most freshmen, because you go from being big man on campus in high school to starting all over again.
Yeah.
Everybody's good, but when we went in there, I mean, coach recruited me as a power forward. Remember, I left KU playing shooting guard.
Yeah.
I could just hold my own. Growing up, it's not that I was on the bench, but whenever I was out of the game, whenever coach needed a guard, I would jump up, or when he needed a post, I would jump up. I mean, I was big and strong enough to guard a post player, and I wasn't always tall, so I can handle the ball, so I was a guard, and you know about the jump shot.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So, I played all 5 positions. And so we started 3 freshmen my freshman year. Myself, Jeff Hawkins was my roommate. He was the point guard from Chanute, Kansas, and Kerry Boagney was from Gardena, California, was a 6'8" guy. And he started, he was a small forward. I was the power forward. And we had Kelly Knight. And so I told coach, I want to play small forward. He said, Kerry's at small forward. I said, well, put me on the second team. He's like, I said, you put me on the second team, I'll kick his butt and take his spot. Then I'm the small forward. He put me on the second team for a day, and he didn't want me taking Kerry's confidence, so he started Kerry at power forward and moving. He kept him in the lineup, but he just shifted him over. And then we were on the road in Iowa State, and Jeff Hawkins got flipped over and fell on his head. And back, I'm sure he was concussed, but back then we didn't know what a concussion was. And so I took the ball and yelled out California. That was one of our plays back then. And I got the ball into my arm. I was like, California, and I'm telling everybody where to go and get set up. And Coach Hill looked at me, Coach Owens looked at me, and they called timeout because we had a couple guys on the bench, Jim Banks and Lance Hill. And Coach didn't want to put them in practice. He called timeout, and he's like, you got this? I was like, yeah. He said, you know the plays? I said, Coach, if you know what you're doing, you have to know what everybody else is doing. He's like, wow. And I tell my kids this all the time. Be a player.
Yeah.
Be a player. And so I knew all the plays from every position. And so I ran point guard, and then I moved from small forward to shooting guard.
That's awesome.
Like Garrett, I didn't want to play point guard all the time. I was just covering and doing what I had to do for that game. Still, we never won at Iowa State, though. But I tried.
Hey, that almost sounded like you was like Brian before Brian, man, playing 1 through 5.
Hey, the older I get, the better I was.
That's how it is with everything, man. Jeez. Yeah. I'm like, man, if I could have had my mindset playing ball, I'd be a whole nother player, man.
Oh yeah.
Jeez. But that's time. I mean, that's life, man. You live and you learn. So you play for Coach Owens and Coach Brown. How are those styles different? Because not too many players can say at KU though they've played for 2 coaches.
Yeah, it was sort of like KU's last 2 games. It was night and day. Night and day. And Coach Owens is my man. We talked night before last. I'm trying to get him to commit to my Hoops and Sneakers Gala. And he, I know his family's not going to allow him to come as long as it's a threat out there. And I told him, I was like, hey, I'm at home myself. I'm just trying to get everything on paper for now. And trust me, if there's still a threat, I'm not going to have it. So I just wanted I want to bring him in. Wow. Is there a chance? He goes, well, I won't say it all. So I want Coach to come in for the Hoops and Sneakers Gala to be my honorary guest.
Yeah.
Okay. We had some great Big 8 coaches. Coach Owens, Johnny Orr from Iowa State, Hartman at K-State, Norm Stewart, Missouri. Mm-hmm. Can't believe I just mentioned that name. I mean, but we had some great coaches, and time just went by them all. Coach Brown came in from the NBA and had the up-tempo style of game, and to this day, I tell people that he still, in my mind, has the brightest basketball mind out there that I ever experienced. I mean, I was, Hubie Brown was my coach with the Knicks, with the Pacers, Jack Ramsey, these Hall of Fame coaches, Larry Brown. I mean, people think I played for Roy, but Coach Williams was and still is a good friend. He helped me petition to finish my degree via correspondence because when I quit playing, I wanted to go ahead and pursue my professional career, and I still had some credits short, but my classes that were being offered that I needed to graduate wasn't being offered online. And so he helped me petition while he was at KU. And so we would go back and forth talking and emailing. And so he's forever in my corner. But dealing with Coach Brown, I mean, it wasn't easy by no means. When he first came in there, I didn't watch pro ball. My goals were to go to college. And I didn't have pro aspirations until towards the end of my junior year, my senior year, when they started talking about a pro prospect. Then, like I tell the kids, my goals shifted. Mm-hmm. Coach Brown came in there, and a lot of people know this, but there's a lot more that don't. I didn't like the way things set when he first stepped foot on campus. We called a team meeting announcing the new coach, and everybody's like, we got Coach Brown, we got Coach Brown. I'm like, who's that? He's like, you don't know? No, I don't. So when he first get in there, he's like, hey, where's the big mouth freshman in here running things? I'm like, big mouth freshman? Running? Well, that's me. Who might you be? And then everybody started laughing. I was the class clown and the team clown. And he's like, we're going to be really good, hear this, Jeff. We're going to be really good when my kids get here.
What?
So, yeah. So, that didn't sit well with me. And I'm like, I had a few choice words. And so you go back again in the archives, we butted heads until our junior year. I mean, he threatened to kick me, Kellogg, and Danny off the team. And Kellogg come to me crying. What? I said, Ronnie, I'm Kansas. I'm not going anywhere. I said, D. Manny's not going anywhere. He's like, but what about me? So I'm like, hey, you on your own. And so I called a team meeting. I called a team meeting, and Suzanne, our secretary, was like, Coach, you don't run things. I said, he better be there. And so we sat down in the locker room, and we say, listen, it started from day one. And you came with personal problems, and it carried over. I didn't like the way you approached us. And I totally understand it now, because coaches recruit kids who think that they'll fit their system. He didn't recruit us. Coach Owens recruited us.
He kept it 100%. He kept it 100%.
As an 18-year-old freshman, I wasn't buying in. So our junior year, when I called the meeting, and we all came together and apologized, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
We're number 1 and 2 in the nation my senior year, go on to the Final Four, and to this day, we're still being talked about as one of the best teams in KU history.
Yeah. And, that squad featured, like you mentioned earlier, a young Danny Manning. Did you have any idea that when he was a freshman that he was going to turn into the Kansas legend that he did?
No, as a freshman, no. He came with all the hype, and that was right at the time when hype started getting out there. I mean, I grew up with no ESPN. I'm that old. So as a sophomore, we saw glimpses. And I tell people all the time, they come up to me, oh, you play with Danny Manning, you play with Danny Manning. I said, no, Danny played with me. I'm older. And so when we saw it towards the end of our sophomore year, we could see it. And then obviously, you saw what happened in junior year and then his senior year. He was simply the best, one of the best out there. And, it's unfortunate that he had to go through those injuries because his names they would still be talking about it.
You know what? And, because Danny was on the pod a few pods ago, and, he was talking about the knee surgeries, man. And, what he was most proud of was not having to have the knee surgeries, but how he continued to recover and fight through those surgeries to keep still playing. Because I remember, Roy used to bring him back, man, and Coach Williams used to bring him back, and, during the summers. And obviously that year when he was with Detroit, I think when Coach Brown was there, Danny was, before he got that, I think he got like a contract mid-season, he was practicing with us every practice, still getting up and down.
Yeah,
Wasn't the fastest, but people couldn't figure out why they couldn't get around him.
Right. I mean, he's never been the fastest. He was just smart. And,
yeah.
I visited with him a couple times after the first surgery, and he's like, oh, I feel so much better. I have a little 15, 16-year-old person's knee in my knee. He was the first to recover from those type surgeries.
Yeah, for real.
And he had 2, yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously playing in the Big 8, what was the hardest place to play on the road?
You didn't hear me earlier. I said Iowa State. We never won.
Iowa State? Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, we're still 0-4. When I took over playing guard, I was like, we lost, but I tried my part. Yeah, we were 0-4 at Iowa State. We never won.
Wow. Iowa State was always they had I played in Kentucky, at Rupp Arena. I thought that was pretty close to like the energy at the field house, but Iowa State gets loud.
No, Iowa State was tough, and they had, Jeff Grayer and Barry Stevens. They had those little 6'3", 6'4" power forwards. That was a tough matchup for Danny. But you didn't ask where we got drilled the worst at. Houston. We went down to Houston and played them, coach's first year, and our king jump ball. We always talk about, hey, who you guarding? Who you guarding? I was like, Greg, the tip, they got to guard us. Then they asked who they guard. So the rep threw the ball up. Greg jumps up. Our king jump up. Greg misses the ball. Our king misses the ball. He hit jump ball with his armpit.
Wow.
We was like, uh-oh. They stomped us bad. And that was my sophomore year. But my junior year, they came back to December 15th, 1984. Figure that out.
Wow.
They came back to KU. Our fans were saying, "Five slam a who?" I think I had like 8 or 9 dunks that game. We got them back, but they got us down there. And then my good friend Richard Relford from Michigan, they put it on us. They put it on us when we went there, and I don't think we ever played Michigan again. I mean, they were just a bunch of men. There's similar to Oklahoma State with Matt Clark and Andrews and all those guys, Leroy Combs. But see, they were all 31, 32-year-old seniors, and we were 18, 19-year-old freshmen, so they were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
No, it was Iowa State was tougher on us as a group.
Yeah. And it continued, man, even to my days, man. That was a tough spot to play in, man. They brought a lot of energy, man.
Yeah.
Hey, so let me make sure I tried to do a little research, Hey, so tell me if this is true. In 1987, you averaged 42 points and 8 rebounds in the Formula Shell in the Philippines.
Oh yeah, I would. After my rookie season, the Pacers released me my first year, and then I end up going to the CBA, which is like the G League now for the NBA.
Where you averaged like 21 and 5 there, huh?
Exactly. So at Albany, Patroon had my rights since the New York Knicks had drafted me. I was like, I'm not playing in the CBA unless you sell my rights to Topeka. So that's how I became a Topeka Sizzler. And after that year is when they invited me to come play in the playoffs in the Philippines. And so I went over there, and I'm like, who's the toughest kid over here? And I don't know if you remember, you're probably young. David Thurkill played at Bradley, averaged about 28, 29 in college, and then he had a championship ring with the Boston Celtics. Nickname was the Sheriff. So the owner, when we got there, the owner's like, I don't know why they even wasted their time and energy to bring an American over here. We got the Sheriff in the first round. We ready to lose.
Uh-oh.
The headlines the next day was, who shot the Sheriff? I gave him 58.
58?
My first 3 games, it was 58, 58, 52. So at that, like you said, we live and we learn. And they told me, if you go overseas, no matter where you go, they're not paying you to pass the ball. So I only passed it if I took it out of bounds. So, put it up on him.
Only pass it if I took it out of bounds.
Yeah.
Hey, you tripping, man. You should at least be trying to throw it off the other player so you can get it back.
I've done that a couple times if it was underneath. Most of it was on the side. But if it was underneath, trust me, I did.
That is hilarious. Hey, so we're gonna do some. We're wrapping it up, and also, man, I actually want to touch on this real fast. You coach both women and men professionally in the KC area.
Yes. When I first I retired back in '95, and at that time, Lightning Mitchell had started up a women's league, the WBA, and a good friend of mine, rest his soul, Josie Merriweather, asked me to do him a favor, and he was the general manager of the team, and they weren't playing well, and he wanted to fire the coach. He's like, I don't have a replacement. Do you mind taking over if we let her go? And I was like, I just came home and wasn't doing anything. So I was like, sure, no problem. And so as I recall, they were tied for last, and we went from worst to first and ended up going to the playoffs. And so I was a part. They had me down in the archives there, the Black archives there, the whole team, not just me. I was just a small part taking over the second half of the season. So I was able to coach the Kansas City Mustangs when I first came home.
That's awesome. So I want to get your thoughts on this. You know, the NBA apparently talking about expansion. How great do you think it would be to have a team back in Kansas City? And what do you think the chances are we could get a squad here?
The chances are slim, I think. Last year I was in a little different mode, but when the reason why they're lessened now is because of what happened with Toronto. I thought Toronto would be here with them not being able to go home to play due to COVID, and they ended up going up to Florida. I thought that it would be ideal to be here part-time to get a little taste of what it would be. It's tough. It's tough, Hulk. We just don't support professional basketball at that level that needs to be to have an NBA team here. You got Kansas Jayhawks 20, 30 minutes down the road, and when Missouri was good, which hopefully they're back there, they're an hour and a half the other way. Yeah. So if you got a true basketball fan, they're either Kansas or Missouri. If Kansas or Missouri is playing the same night as the professional team is, they're on the road.
Yeah.
We had the Kings. We had the Kings, and you know, we were sneaking in the games. I mean, why didn't they support them then? I would love for it to happen, because what I'm trying to do with my Sizzlers team is to prepare them to have a G League type team already in place, if it was to happen, because that's one of my goals as well. But I just don't. They'll be back in. They're gonna, when they do expand, I think they're gonna have to do it either 2 or 4 at a time.
Yeah.
It's not going to make much sense to expand it 1 at a time and have an odd number team. So
you think it's a possibility for a G League team here?
Excuse me?
You think it's a possibility for a G League team here?
No. And where the main team would have to be somewhere close. Where would it be?
Well, true.
I mean, so I don't think that's going to happen without the main team being here. But if they go 2 to 4 teams in the near future, then Kansas City has a shot. Yeah. If it's just 1 to 2 teams, then I don't know, because you know one of them's going to be back in Seattle.
Yeah, for sure.
And we have the facilities with the Sprint or the T-Mobile Center now to host and to house, but I just don't see it happening unless it's up to 4 teams, multiple teams that they want to expand at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, Calvin, so let's do some quick fire questions, man. Just got a couple for you, man. What was your favorite place to eat at in Lawrence when you when you were at school? Excuse me. Favorite place to eat in Lawrence when you were at school?
Wow. Keep in mind, I'm a cook, so my favorite place was at home.
Okay.
But we used to eat our pre-games meals used to be off that steakhouse, Don's Steakhouse off of 23rd Street.
Yeah.
So that's why I fell in love with the prime ribs and the steak fries.
Yeah, I think that's where I had my first steak, man.
Yeah, that's why I had my
man. First one.
Prime rib was there.
You say what?
I said that's why I had my first prime rib.
Yeah. I miss old Don's, man. Okay, so which Final Four? All right, which Final Four team would you have? Hold on. Let me rephrase this for you. Which Final Four team would your game have fit best with? The 2008 team, the 2012 team, or the 2018 team?
Wow.
Which one of those teams?
Wow. You know, when people ask me these questions, it's tough because it's different eras. So, and although we had the 7'2" Greg Dreiling as a post player, we also had Piper and somebody that didn't care to score, just wanted to do the dirty work and fit perfectly with us.
Ooh. Hey,
that's
Calvin.
tough.
Hey, look. Hey, I'm gonna be your lifeline on this. I'm gonna help you out because if they listen to the podcast, they know that Calvin Thompson is adaptable. So it don't matter. All three of the teams. All three of the teams.
But hey, Jay, it wasn't just me now. See, Cedric Hunter was tough at the point guard. It was Cedric, Ronnie, Danny, myself, and Greg. We had Archie Marshall. See, Archie got hurt. So when you talk about the Final Four, we didn't have Archie again.
Yeah.
I'll say the 08 team.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that was closer
like
to my era as opposed to the other teams, and because these guys now they're on a different level.
Okay. All right. Last one for you. If you could have played with one player that played at KU after you, who would it be?
After me.
Yeah. After you graduated.
No. Maybe that dude in New York. Jock Vaughn.
Ooh, okay.
Hey, he likes to pass the ball, Jay Hawk. He likes to pass the ball, and he wasn't Ronnie Kellogg's roommate. Cedric was his roommate, so Ronnie had something going on with Sid. So I would play with Jock.
Hey, a true shooter's answer right there. Somebody that can pass me the ball so I can shoot that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, well, that's it for today, Jayhawk Nation. Thanks for tuning in to Rock Chalk Jayhawk with me, Jayhawk, a podcast brought to you by the Field of 68 Media Network. Make sure you rate, review, and hit the subscribe button. 5 stars. Have a good one. Calvin, thanks again for coming on, man. I appreciate you, man. Excited to watch you continue to grow throughout the community and the Team Sizzlers once you guys get going.
For sure. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jay Hawk.
Hey, you bet, man. Let's stay in contact, brother.